Are you in a situation right now where you feel like your team isn't taking you seriously, even though you feel like you have a good relationship with them? Meaning there's nothing really contentious about the relationship. You have great conversations, you have great one-on-ones, and this general sense of a good dynamic. But when it comes to following through, right? Following through on what you've asked, does it feel like your words don't stick or like you're talking to a brick wall? Well, I know a lot of managers who were in and are in your exact same shoes. In fact, one of my clients once said to me, Mag, I think they like me, but what's so puzzling is that they just do whatever they want and they only listen when I escalate. Does that sound familiar? It's really frustrating, right? When you've done all this work of being approachable and supportive, and then you still have to chase your team down or escalate just to get anything done. But what if I told you that there is a very clear reason for why this might be happening to you, and that you, my friend, have the ability to turn the ship around and finally get your team to take you seriously and follow through without you having to escalate? That's why in this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 really important things. First, the 3 signals that you might be unknowingly sending that's making your team think your authority is negotiable. Second, we'll discuss why trying to be nice is actually keeping your team stuck and making your job harder. And third, we'll talk through how you can command respect without turning into one of those cold, harsh managers that nobody wants to be around. So first, let me paint a picture that might sound actually familiar to you. And if it does, I want you to leave a comment in the comment section below that says, "That's my Sarah." Okay, so do you currently have a team member who keeps not following through on what they commit to? Like, have you sat them down, okay, in a one-on-one to talk through what needs to happen, and they nod along with you, they agree, they even seem engaged, they even tell you, yeah, I totally understand and I'll get that done. But then the day comes to get it done and nothing gets done, and so naturally you follow up, and when you do, they're apologetic, they're super nice about it, they even say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, I'll definitely get to it. But then again, the day comes and nothing happens. And so you check in with them again and you ask, hey, do you need support or do you need help prioritizing? And to your surprise, they say no and they insist they're good, even though you know they're not, and the things still won't get done given their pattern. Has this ever happened to you? Do you have a Sarah on your team? It's weird, right? I mean, how can someone who is apologetic, nice, and seemingly aware just keep not doing the thing? Let me clear up the confusion as to why that might be the case. So there most likely are some signals that you might be sending without realizing it that could be communicating to your team that your leadership is actually optional. For example, when you surface an expectation, are you asking instead of telling out of fear of sounding too bossy or authoritative? Or when you set clear dates for things and that date comes and goes without delivery from them, do you tend to just let it slide or do the work because you don't want to come off or be seen as a micromanager? Or when you give direction, do you qualify or over-explain because you want to be considerate and transparent? Listen, what you're trying to stay away from is valid. I mean, I too do not want to sound bossy and authoritative, and I hate micromanagement, so I get it. But this overcorrection, it leads to some real problems because when you ask instead of tell, your team hears a suggestion, not an expectation. And when you let things slide, what you're doing is you're teaching your team that your words don't actually mean anything, right? They learn over time that deadlines are flexible, that expectations are optional, and that they can just wait you out. And when you over-explain or you over-qualify your decisions, you're actually signaling that you're not necessarily confident in what you're asking. And sometimes by the time you're done talking, because there's so much, they actually forget what you actually need because it's just been buried in justification. So while these things might feel really little, it's these little things that train your team how to treat you. But even if you were to stop doing these 3 things today, right? Even if you committed right now to stop over-explaining, to tell instead of ask, to follow through consistently, you're most likely still going to fall right back into these same patterns. And that's because we haven't actually addressed in this conversation the real issue that's the driving force behind these behaviors. And I fear that if you don't understand what the driving force is, that you're doomed to nod along in this video, to agree with me, make the commitment to change, and find yourself right back, right where you started 1 week from now. So let's have a real talk right now about what might be causing you to unknowingly show up like this. Well, I bet if you and I were sitting down for coffee, better yet tea because I'm more of a tea person, and I dug a little bit deeper with you, I would probably find that you have some belief in there that being a good leader means being liked by your team. In fact, if I had a penny for the amount of times a manager I've trained in this position has told me this, right? They've either said, I want to be liked, or I want to be seen as approachable, or I don't want to come across as one of those harsh managers. Well, I would have a lot of pennies. So I'm going to tell you what I told them. What you're calling kindness is actually niceness. And it's keeping you stuck in this predicament of not being taken seriously. Why do I say that? Well, because a lot of these things I'm talking about here today, like qualifying expectations, asking instead of telling, being inconsistent in your follow-up, they're closely connected to perception and feeling. So you feel like if you follow up consistently, that people will perceive you as being a micromanager. You feel like if you state expectations directly, that the team will perceive you as being bossy or authoritative. You think that if you set boundaries, that the team will feel like you're burdening them. And the list goes on and touches other management areas, even delegation. I mean, so many managers have said to me, Mac, I know I need to delegate this thing, but I'm afraid that my team will think I'm sloughing off work on them. Do you hear yourself? Listen, I understand, okay? As a recovering people pleaser who has operated in this life, trying to do my very best to manage everybody else's feelings around me, I can certainly empathize with where you're coming from. And honestly, I gotta say that there's like a part of me that wants to tell you it's not wrong for you to want your team to like you and enjoy your leadership. I mean, I still to this day get a burst of energy and joy, right? When team members tell me or express that they appreciate working with me and that they've grown as a result. So I get it. And at the same time, being so worried about how you're being perceived can make you forget what your actual job is, and that job is to help them succeed. And helping them succeed actually means being kind instead of being nice. And I know that those two things might sound similar, but it's actually not. So I'm going to clarify the difference, okay? Nice avoids discomfort by letting things slide or softening the message so that it loses its meaning. Whereas kind does what's actually helpful, even when it's really hard and uncomfortable. Nice says yes to everything so that people like you. Kind sets boundaries so that you can show up as your best. Nice lets poor performance slide because you don't want conflict. Kind addresses it early so that that person has a chance to improve or move on before it gets worse. Now, I know this shift isn't easy, right? It might even go against every instinct that you have as someone who cares about people, because I know you do. But also, I've seen other managers make this shift, okay? So that means I know you can do it too. For example, one of my students, Alexandra, was just like you and I, okay? Plagued with wanting to be liked. She was really struggling with her team taking her seriously because she used to do a lot of the things that I talked about in this video, right? She used to ask instead of tell. She used to let things slide. She used to over-explain. And it really impacted her posturing, her tone, everything about her leadership. And as a result, people didn't take her seriously. So we worked really hard to help her reframe what kindness actually meant and helped her practice, okay, showing up with clarity and consistency by saying what she meant, by following through, by following up, by having the hard conversations without apologizing for them. And what happened? Well, performance slowly improved. And as a result, she went from feeling this sense of underconfidence to confidence and proud, because now she didn't just have a team that liked her, she had a team that respected her and delivered. That's what's possible for you if you start making the shifts you need to. So if being kind, not nice, is the goal, what does that actually look like in practice? Like, what does a kind leader look like? I've already said it a couple times in this video in different ways, but repetition never hurts, right? It helps to reinforce the point. So I'll say it again. A kind leader sets clear expectations and holds people accountable to them, not because they're controlling, but because they care about their team's success. A kind leader makes it a practice to have very direct conversations when something is not working, not because they want conflict or they want to hurt someone's feelings, but because they know that avoiding it only makes things worse. A kind leader is decisive, not because they think they know everything, but because they understand that indecision is its own kind of harm. And a kind leader follows up, not because they're trying to be rigid, but because they know that trust is built on reliability. And this is what real leadership looks like in the day-to-day. And it's not about becoming someone that you are not, right? It's about being the leader that your team needs. Now, I'm not saying that any of this is easy, right? It requires a lot from you. It requires you to get uncomfortable. It requires you to challenge some of the beliefs that you've been holding on to for a long time, but it is worth it. And the truth is, being liked and being respected do not need to be on opposite sides of the table, okay? They can coexist. But what it means is that you do have to redefine what kindness means to you, because I got to tell you, the kindness that you are operating with today is not serving you. It can't be, otherwise you would not be watching this video today. So if you are ready to make this shift in your leadership, right, and to start leading with a sense of confidence and stop leading from fear, I want you to know I have a free training for you where I dive into my Elevate Team Performance Framework. It's a tried, tested, and true roadmap that will help you redefine kindness into something that helps you set clear expectations, hold team members accountable, and become an effective leader with a high-performance team, because that is what we all want. You can find that free training at makitaandrews.com/training, and I will drop the link in the description box for you below as well.